was developed for David, yet no impactful change occurred. He struggled to meet the basic academic standards. David and his family went on extended trips when he was younger and settled back down in 2003, just as he entered into 8th grade. But the trouble persisted. School representatives requested that David have a psychiatric assessment because he was extremely disruptive in class, regularly talking about weapons, gangs, and just being a tough guy. It is unknown whether the assessment was done or not, though his disorderly behavior in high school continued. David was known to be associated with dangerous people and would frequently come to school with wads of cash. In fact, he was once overheard telling another student he didn't need a job because he had found a better way to make a living. He seemed to like showing off, as if the tough, gang-affiliated, cash-heavy look was a cool thing. Simply put, David hated school, and always came up with excuses to leave early, come in late, or miss school altogether. Behavior typical of many of the shooters we've covered aren't foreign to David. He drew disturbing images which were extraordinarily violent. One included a male beheading a female. David spoke, almost affectionately, about the Columbine shooters, showing his admiration for the disturbed young boys. It was reported when David graduated in 2010, he didn't have any friends, never had a girlfriend, and wasn't even talking to his parents. He had been suspended from school 3 times and had report card markings with upsetting comments. In grade 8, it was noted that David exhibited, quote, habitual neglect. In 10th grade, he was noted to have inappropriate use of electronic or communication media. 11th grade saw David marked down for possession of a weapon. During one of his several hospital stays, David commented to a doctor that he had violent behavior that included torturing and killing animals. What's worse, he felt no remorse for these acts of violence. After the shooting, his Facebook was examined by investigators, but it was discovered he hadn't posted on social media sites since 2016. However, when he was active, he posted images of demons and, shockingly, a Nazi soldier. David's favorite movies and TV shows were reportedly A Clockwork Orange, The Godfather, The Joker, and The Sopranos. A document was found on his phone about using a gun to commit suicide. Further examination of the phone showed books and other articles and documents about violent crimes, psychopaths, personality disorders, and a 300-page book about using male authority over women. A copy of the manifesto done by the Isla Vista shooter, covered on Active Shooter Episode 13, was also found on his phone, as well as images of the same shooter and the man who committed the Toronto van attack, which was also covered on Active Shooter Episode 23. Numerous audio files on the phone appear to be in David's voice, rehearsing lines from The Joker. The firearm David used was the one he reported stolen in 2016. He acquired the firearm from his brother's room after his brother's overdose and subsequent coma a year earlier, though he must have forgot that he reported the firearm stolen. Despite all the negative, David appeared to work very hard so he could help support his parents. Many people reported that David was pleasant and cordial. He showed empathy and compassion by taking his mom to the hospital to visit his brother daily. A person who mentored David in a community program described him as polite, respectful, and quiet. Although he was quiet, he always wore a smile in greeting.
I know him. He would walk here, and honest to God, this is unbelievable.
Very polite, very friendly, always open with some of the younger youth in the neighborhood. Big, bright, white smile.
He's very, very simple and very, very, humble person. I don't understand why.
He was always quiet. He always walked with his head down. But then when he would see me, he'd just smile, hey, how are you, pet my dog, and that was it. So this is very, very shocking.
However, one neighbor of David saw a different side of him, recounting that David seemed paranoid and never took the elevator to their 7th-floor apartment. He only took the stairs. It doesn't seem like the most disturbing behavior. It's probably the healthier choice, actually. On the other hand, he was known to dress in heavy, bulky clothing, even in the summer, and he perpetually carried a backpack or some type of bag with him. David didn't have a driver's license, but he never, ever took public transportation. He simply walked, or Ubered everywhere he went. The later investigation of his phone showed 47 receipts for Uber trips, likely from going to the hospital with his mom to visit his brother. Neighbors report that David never had friends or visitors of any kind to the apartment. Apparently, David had begun attending the mosque with his dad, though he showed no further interest in a religion other than attending. ISIS tried to claim credit for the attack. However, there was no evidence to support this claim. After the shooting, David's family released a statement saying that he suffered from severe mental health challenges, psychosis, and depression his entire life.
The length of time in which it was identified that there were mental health issues, you do see some gaps and breakdowns. You see people trying to make the efforts, but I can't speak to what or where the failure points were, but it is very clear that mental health played a very critical role, unfortunately.
Do you think that would be followed up with, like something with regards to a breakdown?
Well, I know that the governments of the day have a very strong understanding of the mental health issues that the country has, specifically Canada. Every year our numbers increase for calls for service with respect to people living with mental health. We're in the process of working at a multi-ministry level to come up with the solutions. You can't just do it within one ministry. I think that narrative is becoming stronger now.
Is it possible that this shooting could have been prevented? It's hard to say, but it seems the warning signs were there. It is so important that if you know someone who is struggling, reach out. Stand up, step in, and remember, if you see something, say something. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Active Shooter, the podcast. Remember, if you see something, say something. There's no telling how many lives you may be saving. A huge thank you to Darren Curtis, who composed some of the music used in this episode. Check him out at darrencurtismusic.com. DARRENCURTIS music.com.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter,
mass casualty incidents.
Make sure to check us out on social media. We have a discussion group on Facebook. Just search for Active Shooter, the podcast discussion group. You can also find us on Instagram at Active the Podcast and Twitter at Podcast Active. For just $1 a month, you can get access to ad-free episodes, early release episodes when available, and a shout-out on the show. Just go to patreon.com/Active the Podcast. Thank you, and be safe.
Hey there, Rainbow Warriors. I'm CJ, host of Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBT. My episodes focus on crimes committed by and against the LGBTQ community. I've covered cases you probably have heard of, such as Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, and the Orlando Pulse nightclub massacre, as well as some lesser-known cases like the murder of Ray Hainish, the Australian gay beat murders, and the suspicious disappearance of Lisa Lynn Stone. I cover cases brought to me by listeners like Penny Brummer, who I believe was wrongfully convicted, taboo cases such as lesbian corrective rape and murder in South Africa, and Pray the Gay Away camps. I discuss gay serial killers, women who pretend to be men to hook up with other women, and trans murders. I'm opinionated and uncensored. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but surely I'm someone's shot at tequila. No matter what your gender or orientation in life might be, please join me as I tackle rainbow crimes in search of unicorn justice. Remember, it's not a crime to be gay, unless you're a murderer.
Hey, this is Cameron from Florida Man on Florida Man. We're the podcast all about Florida. We do crazy Florida Man headlines, talk about our experiences growing up and living in Florida now. And then Wayne, one of our co-hosts, gives us a story every week about the legends, the lore, and the history that came out of Florida. We'd love for you to come by, give us a listen, check us out at fmofm.com.